Are you recording?
It would be good if you, is that okay, or you can not record if you want? It would be good if you could sign into this thing. Like use this so you're sharing your screen on it. Because otherwise it's not gonna work on the computers.
I don't think I can be on my stuff.
Can you go to the browser and just,
Oh, okay, yeah.
just go to the, like, here.
Okay, go ahead.
Does your thing have like a corporate thing that blocks?
Hope not.
Okay. See, I lost the browser. Test. Okay. Oh, you're okay. So you got, you got something now. Okay.
It's not in my case, my, firewall thing.
It works. It definitely works. Okay. Okay, so we need to. All right. All right. I have the mic, I just have to figure out a technical issue with it. Okay.
I can also talk about maybe.
Okay. Okay, you should be sharing them, so. You're all set.
You want to use those? YouTube videos. I want to start YouTube videos.
Okay.
So how do I move this?
Just go to the other thing, go to your browser. I always kind
Yeah.
First exam.
So first day was process, and then he was like, "And what you guys work on?"
It might have been me, but somebody spoke to him and he's like, most people think that. If you can hear me online, I can still back that.
All right. All right, let's get up on that.
So in my screen, okay, so I can put up.
Wait, I can, oh, you have that plug there. Okay. Okay. I think that'll work.
And
Whatever's here you're working on.
okay,
Just have you can do. All right, so Ryan Breeze is here from Lyondell. He did a BS degree in chemical engineering here. And then he got a job at Lyondell, I guess. First, and then he worked, he did his co-op at Dow in Louisiana, Exxon, Louisiana. Yeah, Exxon at Dow. They were over.
Baton Rouge, polymer plant, the old Paxson polymer plant.
Yeah, I worked in St. Louis.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Good seafood, Baton Rouge, that's for sure.
It's the main reason I went back. So,
Cool.
Anyway, then he got a job at Lyondell, worked there, and he did his PhD while he was there.
Mhm.
Then he started his own company doing biaxial oriented polyethylene film. And then during whatever economic crisis, I think kind of faded away. Then he went to Michelman. So it's a guy that works at Michelman here, right? Someone works here. Anyway, or a woman works there. One of the, anyway, they just had here. But anyway, and then Lyondell like recruited him back. And then he's like head of everything there. So.
The circularity something.
So he's like negotiating the purchase of these companies for the recycling and everything now. So he's big wig,
How is it?
drives some kind of nice car and everything. Who knows what? So it's a success story from our basically UC trained.
Yeah.
So he plays an expert at this recycling stuff. And it's fun. And he's supposed to get to that. So he's gonna. So I hope it's like to have like a discussion.
Yeah.
And if there's enough, like if he likes your looks of asking questions, he'll give you a hat. So there's a bonus to asking questions. I think they can just interrupt you whenever,
Yeah,
right?
please, yeah.
Do you guys have any questions first off before we even? Yes,
Will this be uploaded to the website?
yeah, it's on Zoom. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll put it up. But something happened with the recording from the last class and it didn't work. So I'm hoping that this one will work. But I don't know why, because the other class has been working fine, so. I'm not sure what happened, but hopefully it'll work.
Yeah.
All right, so you can go ahead.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Dr. Beaucage. Can everyone hear me okay? I'll try to project. I'm kind of loud and, so it's a gift and a curse at times, but yes, so thanks for the introductory and the background. I'm Bearcat through and through. Love this university, always have, big fan. Big fan of the program as well. So today, like Professor Beaucage said, I want this to kind of be informal, right? So feel free to raise your hand, ask questions. I'll do my best to answer them. I don't know all the answers, but I'll do my best to try to fill it in. What we are going to do today is I have a few things. I got some slides I want to show that talk about how my company that I work for, LyondellBasell, is working to help address some of the challenges with circularity of using polymers in our day-to-day lives. And I have some videos, real short, like 1.5 minute videos that kind of talk about the technology platforms that we're working on. And then I want to share kind of the exciting stuff that we're working on that it's really going to bring us into the future around circularity. So that's kind of the spirit of what we have right now. Presentation is not painful. I don't want this to be a monologue and bore you guys to death. I have about, I don't know, 10 to 15 like real slides. There's some filler slides in there. So do that. What we are not going to talk about is last Saturday's football game. Okay. Don't, we're not going there. So it's going to be better this weekend. It better be. So, so with that, maybe a quick slide here. So I have to show this, lawyers make me show you this disclaimer slide. So it's in there. It's everyone's seen it. So that's me. A little bit, I want to share a little bit about what my group works on before we dive into circularity. So we have a technical center located kind of on the corner of 275 and 71 in the Blue Ash kind of area. We have about.
There's a tour tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going. That's it.
2:00, yeah.
I knew you were getting towards tomorrow. Okay, cool. You're gonna love it. It's like an engineer's playground, man. I'm telling you, we have all kinds of capabilities to make things like bottles and then break them and test them. It's really a great place to work and do development work. But you'll get details about the place. We have about 150 employees there, everything from product development engineers to support. Yeah, good.
Are you guys gonna be at the career fair next week?
I'm not sure. I'm not really involved in the corporate recruiting. But I will say this, we'll get this out of the way for positions. Our website's great. We have all of our postings on there for co-ops, for full-time jobs. So check it out. And the default answer is always just apply, right? That's the easiest thing to do to get your name in there. So I'm not sure from the college recruiting. I haven't been involved in that for a while, but if they are there, certainly ask questions. But you'll see what our facilities are like here in Cincinnati. It's our North America Polymer Research Center. We have manufacturing sites around the country. We have a chemicals research center in the Houston area. So a pretty big footprint. I always joke around, LyondellBasell is probably the biggest petrochemical company you never heard of because we don't have gas stations. You hear of ExxonMobil, you see them on the side of the street. We're one of those size companies. We're global. We have resources and facilities in Europe and in Asia and the Middle East. So, but with our research center, there's a team up there that focuses specifically on circularity, and I lead the technical team for that. And what our main purpose is to work with our customers and their customers, which are the brand owners, the P&Gs, the Nestle's of the world, to try to understand how are we going to solve some of these challenges around circularity. A lot of it has to do with things like packaging and the polymers that we use. So that's what my group focuses on. And we work very closely throughout the entire supply chain, the entire industry, to really understand what those needs are. So, I gotta move this out of the way, sorry. I don't want to hit X, right? How do we do that? I can hit X, okay. Okay, there, okay, that worked. That's even better than, okay, so LYB or LyondellBasell at a glance. As I mentioned, we're big. We're the #1 largest producer of polyethylene and polypropylene in Europe. So if you haven't heard of polyethylene or polypropylene, you use it every day. It's everywhere. It's in the shampoo bottles that you use. It's in the milk jugs. It's in the grocery bags that you get at the store. So it's probably these two are probably the 2 largest commodity polymers in the world. We're the 2nd largest polypropylene producer worldwide. So polypropylene is used in things like potato chip bags. That's a polypropylene film. It's used in thermoform cups. So you go to a McDonald's and get a cup, or go to Starbucks and get that cold drink. That's polypropylene. So these products are used in your everyday life everywhere. We have, I mentioned we're global and have quite a bit of capacity, 50 million metric tons. The bottom number is what I want to share with you. This is what I wake up every morning trying to do. In 2030, we want to make 2 million metric tons of recycled or renewable based polymers. So that's a transition from virgin, we call it virgin. Basically, virgin is the polymers that are made using natural gas and oil, to products that are made with recycled or bio-based feedstock. And those are the kind of the 3 technology platforms I'm going to talk about here in a moment, just so you can see the things that we're working on. But those are large goals. If you go to any large company's website, they're more than likely going to have sustainability goals, whether it's a polymer producer, whether it's someone that makes the packaging, whether it's a brand owner that makes the product that you're buying off the shelf. So
I mean, that's supposed to be related, like companies are requiring you to do this, right? So you notice, I know every company's going to be pitching this, like I know that P&G and some of the other consumer products is like, but basically in Europe, like they're required to have that. And they're listing this numbers like, oh, we're just so good, but basically they have to do that. Is that the same like you guys?
yeah, great lead into my next slide. Perfect.
All right.
So this is great. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And there's you got a question? Yeah.
So, worked in paper before,
Uh-huh.
the same thing. I mean, when you're recycling your polymers, that kind of the same issues where they become either shorter or less valuable. And I mean, do you have plans that are specifically geared towards like revitalizing those? I'm kind of curious what that looks like in polymers. Because I know with recycled paper, it's kind of just a little, but I don't know if there's any different polymers.
That's perfect lead into the next few slides. And that's where I'll talk about the technology, but you're absolutely right. There's things we have to do to make sure that when you throw this bottle in your recycle bin and it comes back to us, we can use it to make new products. So and that's the challenge, right? That's like with anything, as you mentioned, paper is a great example. Polymers have some of the same challenges. And I'll talk about the kind of the three main technologies that we're utilizing to address those challenges here in a moment. But no, great question. So again, why are we as a society doing this? And if you look at the blue box there, political factors, that's exactly what you said, Dr. Beaucage. There's legislation in place. Of course, Europe is further ahead than we are. In the US, there's state legislations being implemented around recycled content or taxes on utilizing different polymers and packaging. I got a great example here. I was in California recently, and they charge you 20 cents for a bag when you go to Circle K. And that 20 cents goes back into the infrastructure to make sure this bag can be recycled and reused. Seattle's the same way. I was in Seattle recently. It's 8 cents for a bag in Washington State. So the states are starting to drive some of this. The challenge that we have here in the US, though, we have 50 states. And if you can imagine trying to get 50 people in a room to agree on one common thing that makes really good sense, is challenging. And what that does, it makes it hard for companies like LyondellBasell and our peers to really understand exactly what we need to do. So around the political side, what we have are people within our company that are working with legislation, both on the federal and the state level, to try to come up with a good plan that makes sense for everyone, something that's implementable and something that we can all agree on. So we're all doing the same thing. We all know what we need to do. So there's a lot of activity around the political side and setting regulations and trying to get everybody on the same page. So that way we're all basically playing with the same playbook and understanding where we need to go. So that's definitely one of the drivers right now. The second driver is economic factors. Okay, so if you were to throw this shampoo bottle in the trash can and it gets landfilled, it's a waste of not only polymer, it's a waste of money. When Rumpke comes to visit you later on this semester, Jeff Snyder's going to tell you this is his bread and butter. He wants these bottles because they collect them at Rumpke, they put them in a big bale, and then companies like LyondellBasell buy those bales from them and turn them into the pellets that we use to make the next bottle. There's real money behind what you're throwing in a trash can. So that's why it's important to take these products and recycle them. And not only just because you're doing the right thing to use it, but it also supports the economy. It supports the businesses that are using these products. So there's that economic driver around it as well. The next thing, social factors. And I'll point to you all on this one because your generation has been very vocal around driving circularity, and it's wonderful. It really has been a major push, and the brands are realizing this. So the P&Gs and the Nestle's of the world realize that your generation wants more sustainable packaging. They want better solutions, things that are better for the environment. And that's a big driver around this as well. So the social side of things are also very important. Now, what's also important is we can't just get rid of all plastic. It just won't work, right? In all honesty, the amount of polymers that we use in society is very significant, and it's very important. If you think of things like medical packaging, in the past, IV bags were in glass jars, or IV fluids in glass jars. Now it's in these plastic bags. They're sterilized. You know, there's a lot of health implications around that. You think of food packaging and food waste. As a society, we waste about 40% of the food we make. That's between it going bad in transit to our grocery stores and home, or just not, or going bad in our refrigerator. I can tell you, I've worked in the packaging industry for almost my whole career. The science and engineering around a shredded cheese bag is phenomenal. There are so many different layers and so much design that goes into that pouch to make sure that cheese doesn't go bad before you're ready to use it. So those types of things are really important for us as a society. What we need to do is use these products responsibly and make sure that we're taking back what we can and reusing what we can. And then, of course, the technical factors are important too. And to the point I made earlier about LyondellBasell and our 2 million metric ton by 2030, we're not alone. You can go to, as I mentioned, any company's website throughout the entire supply chain, and they all have similar goals. So we're trying to meet these goals, and we're investing a lot in technology. We're doing a lot of development work. We're buying facilities that can process these materials. We're putting the money into the infrastructure to be able to do this. So we're going to dive in a little bit and talk about LyondellBasell and what we're doing and what you'll find. You can get on really any polymer supplier's webpage, and you'll find that others are doing very similar things, right? The ExxonMobils, the Dows, the DuPonts, the Sodics, they all have very kind of similar approaches towards helping address this challenge. There are some differences. Some might be focusing on maybe just one technology. We're pretty proud that we're focusing on 3 big ones. So we have a lot of options and a lot of solutions for our customers. So, but you run into some challenges that, you know, you have with, say, using recycled material. It's not just as easy as take this bottle, melt it, put it into a pellet, make another bottle. There's challenges. One is performance issues, and you touched upon this, right? Every time that product gets recycled, it changes. So we got to do things to make sure that we're designing products that don't change as much when they're recycled, as well as how do we, the point you mentioned, blends, you know, what else can we put in there that the second time it's used or the third time it's used to make sure that this bottle performs how it's supposed to. Okay. The other challenge is that when we say highly regulated applications, think about this bottle as it goes through the recycle system. It gets dirty, it had shampoo in it. You know, there may not be applications you want to use this polymer in again, and medical is a great example. You want a medical package to be very clean, very sterile. If you had recycled material in there, there might be contaminants, right? So there's certain areas that we got to be very selective to on where we actually utilize this material. The next thing is around supply constraints, and this is where you all can help as consumers, right? We need more recycled material to come to us. We need to do a better job as a society recycling what we use. We recycle about, in the US, maybe 9% of the plastics that we utilize, not so much. Europe is better. They're doing a better job than we are, but they've been at it longer. They have the infrastructure for it. So as a consumer, understand what that package is, understand what Rumpke or Republic or whoever your collection service is, understand what they can take. And then just make sure you recycle it, make sure you put it in the bin. So that helps address the supply constraint issue that we're seeing. Yeah.
So in the case where there may not be recycling available for certain plastics or hardly at all, like particularly rural areas, are you looking at changing what polymers you use to more biodegradable options that would not provide so much of an impact if they do end up in the landfill?
Yeah, that's part of the challenge, and you touched on something very, very important there. A lot of municipalities, as mentioned in rural areas, don't have the ability to accept that. The one thing I will say from a biodegradability standpoint, it's not as straightforward as you might think either, right? There's most of the biodegradable polymers need to go into industrial biodegradable services. You can't just necessarily throw it out in your flower bed and it'll go away. So there's challenges with that too. The other challenge is the polymers that they're used sometimes in biodegradable, I guess, products. Those are contaminants for recycling this type of bottle too. So you can, it really just highlights the complexity of the situation we have. The infrastructure just isn't quite established yet, and that's what we're all working towards trying to do. But a great question, great thought around on that, because we're not really sure we have quite the answer yet. So yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of like impurity, some kind of curious. What about like color, like ink?
Yep.
Like you have a red bottle, blue bottle, and that clear bottle. How do you guys? Is it even possible to not make it red and blue anymore?
Yep, that's a great question too, and actually, maybe I can save that to when I show the mechanical recycling flow, because it explains it a little bit in that. But that's actually one of the challenges I think we have too, as far as recycling. This bottle, for example, has 75% recycled material in it, and that recycled material is basically milk jugs. So it doesn't have color to it. It's already natural, what we call. But you have things like caps that might have some color in it, and that has to go to a different stream and go into different products. So it's part of managing that sortation process. I forgot to give out hats. I'm gonna take a second. You guys got questions? Give them on. You guys question again? I got a couple more, so, it's the Cincinnati skyline in the front, by the way, that's kind of cool, thought it was pretty sweet. Yep, you want a hat?
The hat made out of recycled plastic.
Great question, I don't know. that. Maybe you can figure it out. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the products that we're developing. So we're branding these products under Circulen. So if you go on our website, Google Circulen, that's our circularity product line that we're bringing to the marketplace. So these are the three platforms that I'm just going to talk about and kind of.
So what's the value chain, you know, so you have like people buying the pellets, they aren't like Procter and Gamble, right? So it's gonna be like the, you know, or someone's asking them, so who is driving the demand for Circulen? In other words, like consumers want to have it, then how does that feedback, how does it reach you, you know?
Okay.
At the end, like it's a sequence of events, right?
Yeah.
Somehow.
So great question. Yeah, and maybe I'll take a step back and go all the way back to the very beginning on how we make polymers. For the products we make, we either take natural oil, or mostly in North America, it's natural gas. And we put it through a process called cracking, which basically breaks that molecule apart and you form ethylene or propylene. So those are the monomers. And a polymer is basically, think of it as like a chain, like has a bunch of links in it, and each link is one of those little ethylene or propylene monomers. So what we do is after we crack it, we make that polymer through another process. And then our product is typically these little pellets. And I joke around, if you've ever had a Beanie Baby blow up on you, the Beanie Baby guts, that's what they look like. It's the little bitty plastic pellets. And we'll sell that to people called converters. And what these converters do, they have a process where they actually take our pellets and they'll make a bottle, or they'll make a plastic film out of it. And then
There's
what?
like concentrate companies too, like
Mhm.
polymer or something.
Yep.
It's a whole stream of people, right?
Yep.
Companies.
And we make
Companies, yeah.
and we make colors too, right? So the polymer that's used to make this cap is naturally clear, but say somebody wants a blue cap. Well, then there's another company that makes pellets that are blue, and they'll sell it to the people that are making the caps. They add the blue pellets to the natural pellets, and then they make blue caps. So the supply chain is pretty spread out as far as you know how many different players are involved. It's not just one company doing it all. And then the company that makes the blue caps or the bottle, they'll sell it to the P&Gs of the world.
Concentrate companies are not gonna use recycled material, like, because they want to modern dispersed kind of system. They know how it functions.
Well, the concentrate, the concentrates are usually a really small portion percentage wise of the product. But what they do is they'll take the blue pigment, in this case, they'll take the blue pigment and they'll mix it with a natural pellet. So it's called what they call master batch. So you can think of like, diluting that blue concentrate into some natural polymer so it disperses better when they make it. So that polymer that they put the blue pigment in could be recycled material too. So they could do that.
But it isn't. Is it?
There's some, yeah, there's some,
Right.
yeah.
Right, I don't know, I just wonder
Yeah.
how, because I know it's a complex system, actually, when you look at it. But
Yeah.
it isn't like PG, someone's saying they want to buy environmental PG shampoo bottle. And then like PG is gonna order something, and then they're gonna order something else. And there's this chain of events in that.
Yeah, so kind of the way that the business side of it would work is since we're using a name, a company like P&G, a brand owner will say, we want to have a bottle that has 30% recycled material in it. They would tell that to their supplier, the people that actually make the bottle. And then the people that make the bottle are my customers. So they'll come to us and say, hey, we have a customer that wants a bottle that has 30% recycled material. What do you have and how do you help us do that? And that's what these products are for.
So when you're pitching this stuff, then who are you pitching it to? Like, you're not really pitching it to people like this, right? You're pitching it to like the guys that make bottles, right? You know, it's like your sales, like your stuff should be really advertising to them to get them interested in the cycle. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly how, no, it's how you're gonna impact the system to make it more recyclable, or more. whatever.
Well, so we talk to the people that make the bottle as well as the people they're making the bottle for. So we'll talk to the people that blow the bottle as well as the P&Gs of the world, the brand owners of
We
the
have
world.
to make the chain of P&G.
So where the brand owners are getting their requirements from are from you all, from the consumers. The consumers of the legislation, so that those four things I talked about at the very beginning.
Legislation affects everyone, right? No, if
Yeah.
they make a law, it's gotta be 70% recyclable, and everyone in the line has to figure it out.
Right.
It isn't a matter, but, so that's pretty simple, I guess, but it's
Mhm.
hard to get over politically, but basically it's a simple solution.
Mhm.
Versus telling P&G and then how it translates down that line. That could get diffused quite a bit by the time you get the line out. You know?
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
complicated, how you solve it.
yeah, well, it's just maintaining that those relationships, right? And understanding what they're asking for. But yeah, there's different steps in the supply chain that we need to work through and understand how to address the needs. But ultimately, the drivers are coming from the consumers and legislation. So. Okay, good.
I find it really interesting, like a few slides ago, you said like a lot of like the recycled materials, how it relies on honest, but I know like companies typically make it really hard for us to recycle because it's just confusing, they hide where like the little like arrow is, or they don't even put it on. And then a lot of the plastic, a lot of it, we recycle, but doesn't really get recycled, it gets sold off to China, and China does whatever they want with it. So, I mean, like, with that, isn't it kind of like not even really like the individual consumer's problem? It's mostly like the people that you're selling it to.
So there's a couple things that are maybe to talk on. That's by the way, great question. I got one more hat. So first you mentioned China, and that's gone. It's called China Sword. It stopped a couple of years ago. We can no longer ship waste over there, so we have to do something. Right. So, which is a good thing. It forces us to address that. Your point around knowing what you can and can't recycle is a great point. It's a very good point because you have the Chasing Arrows logo with the different numbers, and when Jeff's here from Rumpke, he'll talk to you about that too, right? You know, as far as this is a tube, this is a high density bottle, but it's hard to see the number and all that. There are industry-wide organizations that are trying to improve that. Okay, one is Association of Plastic Recyclers, APR. If you go walk through the grocery store, and you might see this "How to Recycle" or H2R logo on some pouches. That's what they're trying. Those types of things are what they're trying to get the packaging or trying to implement so the consumer knows what they can and can't throw in the bin. And a great example here is, I'll share this with you as I have a text spot. So you all see these types of pouches, right? You go to the grocery store, there's granola in them, there's all kinds of stuff in there. Most of these pouches contain different types of polymers. There's a polyester layer, there's a polyethylene layer, there can be all kinds of other structures in here, and you can't recycle. Well, what companies like mine and others that are working on is how do we make these types of pouches out of one material, which is really hard, right? As I mentioned, packaging engineers have been working on optimizing these structures for decades. Well, this pouch right here has been approved by the How to Recycle organization, the APR. So you can actually take this pouch and you can drop it in the bin in front of Kroger's with your used grocery bags, and it can be recycled. And what this pouch will have, these pouches that we have made, so they're not necessarily a commercial product, but it'll have a How to Recycle logo on it. So if you go, a great example is the Barely Naked granola. Next time you're at a grocery store, walking on a granola, barely naked, they're doing an all polyethylene pouch. So it's not there yet. It's just like the infrastructure to say, hey, it's polymer, we should be able to recycle everything. It's not there yet, but the industry's really working hard to try to get to that point. So
It's the adhesive layers of that, right? The core, isn't that a big part of the recycling problem?
it can't be. Well, you can use polyethylene to laminate. You can use low density. Yeah, you can use polyethylene. The other thing is some of the other uses are so small and it's such a small percentage, it doesn't impact the recyclability. So the APR has a protocol. What companies will do is they'll make these pouches, they'll send them to a place and they'll test everything, process and test them, and they have to pass certain criteria to get certified. So it's another certification.
So it's changing pretty fast, like, I can remember like seeing a ketchup bottle with like 7 layers or 8 layers, they still have them on the internet.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I don't think, you don't do it that way anymore. I think.
Yeah, they're exactly, so the brands, the Heinz's of the world are saying we need to make a container that's more easily recyclable. You'll see, recycle ready is the terminology that's being used today. So if you get online, Google recycle ready packaging, you'll see all these options and things that are available.
So that's consumer driven, right? That's basically because the consumers figured out that it was 9 layers. And
No, the packaging engineers know that, and they know it can't get recycled.
It's like cheaper to make it that way, or must be cheaper too, right?
Well, I mean, there's give and take with everything. I mean, like with this pouch, polyethylene, it's a little more challenging to make a good pouch with it. You have to optimize your equipment and maybe invest in different lines, that type of thing. But
That's a
they're
big
doing it.
thing too, like changing over the technology, like they don't want to change their machines, because they got to finally working in these pouches. And it took them a long time to do that, and they don't want the resin to change. Anything to do with the machine.
But they're doing it. If you look at any of the food companies' web pages, there's actually one
I mean,
customer.
it's like a low profit margin for the converters, right? I mean,
Not necessarily.
it's like it's kind of just barely making that.
Well, but again, it's all about pull through and economics, right? So. The consumer may have to pay a little bit more for a package if that's the case. I mean, we all gotta pitch in, right? But you look at a company like Amcor, one of the largest flexible packaging converters in the world. One of their objectives is to have all their packaging recycle ready by 2030. I think they're 90-some% of the way there already. It's real. That's what our customers are working on right now.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there is like a few, at least like, several like, polymers, plastics that can be recycled, but aren't by like Rumpke and whatnot.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you know, like the main reason, like why they don't recycle them, or like, I'm guessing they just don't have the means to, but I guess my question goes deeper, like why don't they have the means to do that?
It's a great question. It's a good question for Jeff when he's here, from Rumpke.
Right.
I can kind of share my thoughts. One of the challenges, I think, is, when you throw this in your recycle bin, it goes to a Rumpke and they have to do all the sortation. And they're investing a lot on these sorting technologies. If you've ever seen or visited Rumpke's MRF, they have robots that come and pick bottles. It's really cool. But there's infrared spectroscopy equipment. There's different types of magnets and eddy current technology that's there. Part of the challenge is just making sure that you can do it all. I mean, there's a lot. And but that's a great question for Jeff. And you're looking at things like right now, the polyester, so your water bottles are recyclable. I don't see number 2 is recyclable. The new thing, and actually, Rumpke and others implemented this, you can now recycle flexibles at home. Don't put them in your recycle bin, but what you have to do, you have to go to Kroger's and buy the orange bags. And there's orange garbage bags, you can put all the flexibles in there, and then when the bag's full, you put it in your recycle bin at the curb, and they'll take it, and they'll use it as feedstock. So part of it's just infrastructure and equipment and other things to set it all up. Oh,
I mean,
You got glass
density- You can do with density separation too, right? Like if you do grind up the polyethylene, you go low density, I think those waters.
yeah, maybe, and
I'm not
maybe,
sure they don't do that at mine, the rough field, I don't think.
I don't know, so
I've seen it online where you just.
Yeah.
dump stuff
that's
into
what we do in our
Yeah.
recycling bin. Maybe I'll take a second here and talk about mechanical recycling and I'll jump ahead here, just on the slide. So this is so mechanical recycling is what you think of when somebody mentions recycling. We take the part, actually, take a step back. you as a consumer will take the plastic part, and put it in the recycle bin at home. And then Rumpy will come, take your bin, they'll dump it in their truck, they'll take it to their facility. And then what they do is they sort through everything. So they have people on the line that pull the things that you shouldn't have put in there in the first place. That's why it's important to understand what they can take and make sure you only put the right things in there. And then they go through and sort the aluminum cans go one direction, steel cans go another direction, plastic goes another direction, and the plastic is sorted even further between polyester, high density polyethylene, polypropylene. And then it's put into a big bale. So if you ever seen a bale of straw like on your porch at Halloween or the decoration, that's what it is. It's just this huge, basically 1,000-pound bale of plastic. And it's pretty well sorted, right? It might be, I don't know, maybe 70-80%, 90% of that particular polymer, but it hasn't been washed, hasn't been cleaned. So if you didn't rinse out your milk jug, there's a stinky milk jug in that bale somewhere, right? So that's their product. Now, companies like LyondellBasell and others that produce the recycled pellets, what we do is we buy those bales. And then we take them to our plant, and then we put it through a process where we grind them up. And then we wash it, and then we sort it. We have different technology that'll further sort the material to make sure the polyethylene is going one way, the polypropylene is going another way. Things that we don't want, say you put a polyester bottle in your bags, that gets put somewhere else too. And then we take those little bitty pieces of plastic that have been ground up, and we basically melt them and turn them into pellets. Yep.
Can you talk to me about how you actually sort those, or is that proprietary?
No, it's not proprietary. So it's basically after it's ground, it goes through a process where there's IR technology. They'll shoot it with IR, and with IR, you shoot a piece of plastic with an IR beam, and it has like a fingerprint to it. So each different polymer has a different fingerprint, and based off that, there's little air jets that shoot the different parts everywhere. It's pretty cool. And then it goes into a wash tank where we do a sink flow separation as well. So polyester's density is greater than water, polypropylene is less. So polyester sinks, polyethylene floats, and then it gets washed at the same time, and then it gets transferred into pellets.
Could we like see that in Florida tomorrow, or is that?
That is actually at our plant in California, so we don't necessarily do it on a big scale at our research center. We're building capabilities where we do it on a small
Well,
scale.
there's a density gradient column. It's kind of the same idea.
Kind of, yes.
It's like research, and we can figure out what the crystallinity of material is by we put it into a gradient of the density of fluids. It's the same idea.
It's the same concept. It's not as refined as a comedy that floats or it
Yeah.
doesn't, but yeah. But yeah, so we have some small scale lab stuff. Our research center here, the plant's actually outside of Los Angeles, California.
Sterilize it as well, or is it just wash?
Just a wash, so it's cold and hot washed at that point.
So when it goes into an extruder, it's like 110, 20 degrees C, right? So that's going to kill.
Well, when you see sterilized, like for medical packaging, that's,
Yeah.
you don't use recycled stuff for that. That's like PTO and other things.
That was through a molten plastic.
No, but it does have, it's been washed, but sometimes they have a little smell to it, like sometimes all a burnt paper smell because labels are sometimes a little bit of paper makes it through and it has something to it. We're working on developing devolatilization technology to help get rid of some of that smell. That happens sometimes, but it really boils down to what's coming into it. It's like any other process. We try to get it nice and clean before it goes. But yeah, so this is our first product now around mechanical recycling. What I want to do is I kind of want to show you guys these videos if I can get them to work. I think this will help a little bit. Okay, so hopefully the folks online can see these. So this is
Together with Suez, LyondellBasell invested in a joint venture called Quality Circular Polymers, also known as QCP. QCP converts used plastics into high-quality polymers, marketed under the brand name Circulin Recover, that offer a solution to those looking for circular products. So how does this work exactly? Post-consumer plastic waste is collected and sorted using cutting-edge sorting technology. This is then transported to the QCP plant, where the plastics are fed onto the conveyor belts that eventually lead to a shredder. Using state-of-the-art technology, the plastics are processed through steps like washing, color sorting, mixing, and compounding that eventually converts the material to a high-quality grade of plastic resins. To ensure the high
Pause this just for a second, because you asked a question about color. You see there, what we'll do is we'll take that stream of chopped up plastic pieces, and we have sorters that say this is clear plastic or this is colored plastic. That puts it through two different streams. You can see the silver product here is the natural product, the clear product. And the gray that we have listed here, that's basically everything else. So gray is really dark gray or black. It's used in some applications like, automotive parts in some cases where they put black in it anyhow to make sure that ductwork that your air conditioner goes through is black. Goes into flower pots, things like that. So to your question about how you don't really get the color out, you just separate it by color. And you have the clear and the color.
So it's done with like, you almost just map them together until you get a uniform color, but it's just like dark gray, black.
That's
Like
what.
you took a bunch of paints and just.
Yeah, that's what we do now. Now, there are some companies that can take all the different colored flakes and they can sort by specific colors. And it all depends on how much you're getting. And so if you're getting 80% Tide bottles that are orange, you can make an orange product and then the 20% goes somewhere else. But if you're getting 5% of 20 different colors, it's hard to separate. It really just depends on the feedstock.
You worry about microplastics when you're doing this, like you kind of making microplastics, right? When you're doing this grinding.
Well, it has to be, it can't be smaller than 2 millimeters when we grind it. So that's the part we
You're
have.
gonna make some fine, it's right, you kind of grinding process.
Yeah, and we have that wash system, the fines will come out in the wash system.
And then then you not that.
Oh, we sell it to other recyclers that just use it for other things.
All right. There's a big problem with microplastics like washing machines. Particles.
Well, you're talking really, really small. Yeah, I'm
I'm
not sure about that, yeah.
highest level of quality for our customers, these resins are constantly checked by a quality control team. Circulin Recover polymers from LyondellBasell can be used for small blow molding and injection molding applications, such as shower gel, detergent and household bottles, to housewares, crates and caps, as well as high added value items, such as the Magnum Eco suitcases from Samsonite. Together with our partners, LyondellBasell improves the environmental footprint, reduces waste, and contributes to the circular economy by bringing new products to the market. LyondellBasell, advancing possible.
So this is pretty lucrative, and like you think.
Most people have no clue that in 2024, the best.
Does Lyondell think this is like if they're gonna make money off this, right? Versus, and how does it compare with virgin? Because it's almost free, right, coming in, but. Costs coming in, but basically. The mark, anyway, do they think they're gonna make more money off this than virgin?
It's a good question. We need to be profitable. That's true of any company, but
Which one's better? Is it gonna be like, this is gonna make virgin look like why would we bother to do that anymore?
well, the price isn't really what's driving the circularity movement. It's the consumers and the brands and their goals. So it's one of those things where the economics have to work out throughout the whole supply chain.
Yeah.
In legislation, things like that. That's what's pushing this.
But right now, like, you're selling it, right? So does it cost more or less than a virgin polymer?
It depends on the market. Depends on how the markets are right now. if virgin prices are high for whatever reason, virgin may be more, if virgin prices are lower, it could be less, it really just depends. They're independent markets too, I mean, I think you had some thoughts around that, to where the virgin marketplace is well established, it's been around for a long time, there's indices around the feedstocks we use, to help guide pricing on that. Around the recycled content, these are more, on a volume standpoint, smaller volume products, so they're more niche. Supply isn't as readily available. There aren't multiple versions of the same product available from multiple suppliers either, so it's more of a specialties type marketplace. So it's really hard to compare the two, is really what it boils down to.
You might kind of calling back to the paper or whatever, because it's really similar enough to this. Like, so, something that when at the plant I worked at, we kind of struggle with too, is like, I mean, do you have certain places that you trust more than others? Like, for example, they trusted more the cardboard and other paper fibers they got from something like Walmart that's really well established than from a third party. So is that similar in the plastics, where it's like you might find a third party that's cheaper, but you don't really know if what they're giving you is what they promise? Like we had an issue once where somebody basically shipped like corn board, which is great in the short term, but it can't really be recycled because fibers are too short.
Well, it's like with any other manufacturing situation, we have specifications on raw materials coming in, they have to meet those specifications, and we hold suppliers accountable for that, so. It's all part of the good manufacturing processes that plants use, to try to build that. What we do is we do assess the raw materials coming into us before we start buying them and evaluating those. So there's a very formal process, I guess, associated with qualifying a supplier. And once that supplier is qualified, they're held to the quality standards that we have set for them.
Is that like, I mean, is that like a contract, or is that more of like fade type deal?
Oh, it's built in the supply contracts. Yeah, you have, just like with our contracts with our customers, we have quality statements in there that we have to meet as well. So
Yeah, if they breach that.
Yep. Yeah, it's a pretty structured relationship throughout all of this supply chains.
So when you guys make your revenue quotes out of recycled product, you guys have to account for the covenants and everything. You also have to account for other additives that were in the formulation, like processing aids or heat stabilizers, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's maybe to tie in the first question you had about the fiber breaking down. That's it's part of what we'll do as well. When we start to develop a product, we look at possibly how much more stabilization packages we need to put in there to make sure that polymer processes well, not just the next time, but even the time after. So that's all part of the formulation that we do. And in these plants, you have different ways to add additives and master batches to make sure the product forms as expected.
So do you have a consistency with the final product, since the recycling material that you use is inconsistent between each other?
Yeah, that's kind of what we spend a lot of time trying to minimize, right? And that's where, to the point about the suppliers, we want to have relationships with them to make sure the bales we're getting are the quality that we want and the consistency that we want. And then when we do our processing, we have specification ranges on the products for various properties, and when we produce that product, we make sure that it's within that specification range. If not, it goes to a wide spec product that goes into maybe a more forgiving process.
Are there any specific pollutants or anything in it that like give you specific trouble, like they can't be sorted out as easily? I know you mentioned you do IR and things like that, that really can sneak through.
I mean, the real challenge we have, and this is what we work with our suppliers on, is around contamination with other polymers. So like if this bottle got into the high density stream, it can cause challenges from a performance standpoint, a product quality standpoint. So that's kind of the main thing that we're trying to address with them, is getting a good consistent stream product.
Is there a reason why you chose LA to do this? Is it because California has regulations to support it or something?
Well, I mean, in our case, it's interesting because we actually purchased the plant from another company that started it there. So it was already there. it wasn't a greenfield plant for us,
Alright.
so it worked out pretty well, but
Well, the other company might have got to save money to start the thing.
I'm not sure the details, but you know, California does have a strong recycling infrastructure, so that helps. It's maybe that's the reason they put it there in the first place. You know, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
about that, but yeah,
It's not in Ohio.
not in Ohio.
Wonder why. Yeah.
So cool. So that's kind of an overview on mechanical recycling. I do want to spend some time talking about advanced recycling, and this is kind of the next step, right? In technology, and we're doing a lot of work in this area. So in essence, what we're doing here, instead of taking a polymer product and breaking it down and just melting it, turning it into pellets again, we're actually taking that polymer, again, think of it as a big chain, right? And we're putting it through a process where we break the chain into those little links, individual links again. So we're taking polyethylene and breaking it back down eventually into ethylene. So what we do, we put it through a process. That process turns this bottle into an oil. And then we take that oil and we put it through our cracker, where it converts the oil into the monomer, which is ethylene or propylene. So it's
So it's pyrolysis?
it's basically a pyrolysis process, right?
Right.
Mhm.
There's no platinum in that.
Yeah, I'm not sure the catalyst chemistry, to be honest with you,
I
but
think your catalyst was huge.
well, so that's what's a little different. I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit in the presentation and talk about our more technology. So pyrolysis, you can take, oh, go ahead, yeah.
I mean, you know, when you do cracking and all that, there's the byproducts, it's, naphtha, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That's like, do you guys create that byproduct when you do it, and I think dispose of that? byproduct?
We have a whole chemicals business
That does all that?
that takes care of selling those products too as well, so, yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of molecular weights are those oils that you try and break down to? Is it?
Great question, I'm not sure.
Okay. It's still up.
I don't have all the answers, and actually, my group doesn't do a whole lot on the advanced recycling, development work. We have a technical center in Houston that supports our chemical business that I just mentioned. They're the ones that are working on this, and what we're doing now, it's differential than just conventional pyrolysis, is this technology to where we're actually adding a catalyst. And it's going to allow us to do a couple of things. It's going to allow us to reduce the energy that we need to put into the process, which is a good thing for many aspects, environmental, from an operational efficiency perspective, and it'll also allow us to scale it up. So if you look at a lot of these pyrolysis reactors now, they're pretty small. For us to get to our goals in 2030, we need big ones, right? You got 2 million metric tons, so that's a lot of pounds. So we're super excited about this. We have been running a pilot scale reactor in our Ferrara, Italy research facility for the last probably 3 or 4 years. When I say pilot scale, it's like a 6-story tall building. It's pretty decent size. Right now, we're in the process of constructing our first commercial plant in our Wesseling, Germany facility. And then we're planning on bringing it over here to the US probably by the end of the decade. We'll be building a plant. So in these plants, they take years to build, right? And it's a 2-3 year process to get things done. It's really a lot of infrastructure associated with it. But our goal there, the carbon footprint advantage, that's really the driver. We want to reduce the carbon footprint of advanced recycled products. Now, the nice thing from an application standpoint with advanced recycled materials, since we're going all the way back to the monomer and then we're repolymerizing it, making a new polymer, we can use that recycled material in more restrictive applications. We can use it in medical, we can use it in food packaging, and not worry about these contaminants that might come through the recycling process. So it gives the industry a lot of flexibility to include recycled content in applications that they can't put mechanical recycled material into. But kind of the general rule of thumb, if it can be mechanically recycled, it should. Okay, this bottle, we'd want to mechanically recycle it. We wouldn't want to put it through advanced recycling. If you have maybe a pouch or something like that can't be mechanically recycled for whatever reason, that's great for advanced recycling. It's good feedstock for that.
When you do advanced recycling, do you have any like loss on like, the, like, any waste that comes out of it? Like, how much do you know how much like percentage wise you lose?
Yeah.
When you go through there?
Great question. Yes and no. So yes, we do have, there's always waste of any process, right? You know, and we want to minimize that. And that's where, I'll talk about advanced sorting in just a second. So we want to minimize that amount of waste. I don't know that number for sure off the top of my head. I'm guessing it's very small. Otherwise, we will run into issues on a larger scale. So that was really what we were using our pilot plant to do, is to optimize that process and the stuff. But what's important for this are things like advanced sorting. So there's a group that we're part of in the Houston area called Cyclics, which is developing advanced sorting technologies to where they can pick out the materials that need to go into mechanical recycled feedstock, materials that would go really well into advanced recycled feedstock. So what I described before about what we do in our plant, it's that on steroids. It gives you better feedstock for these recycling processes that we're doing. So, and that kind of ties into this. I'm bouncing around in a presentation, but this is our strategy, our hub. We're called a hub strategy. So where at one location we have plastic waste coming in, it's being sorted, and through this sorting technology, you can send the right material, like these bottles that need to go to mechanical recycling, or we can send the things that can't be mechanically recycled very well, but are great for advanced recycling, to that process as well. And then that's where we basically make our compounded product, which is a mechanical recycled product, or we go back and make the feedstock that goes to our cracker to make the monomer, which then makes the polymer. And I want to touch on one. I know we have till quarter till. We're getting close. Okay, I just want one more. The third pillar, I guess, I want to talk about real quick is our renewable technology. If I can find the slide, sorry. Here, okay. So I talk about mechanical recycling, where we take the bottle, grind it up, make pellets. Talk about advanced recycling, where we take the product, we break it down to the monomer, and then we repolymerize it. This is bio-based renewable feedstock. So in this case, what we're doing is we're sourcing an oil, such as used French fry oil from Burger King or McDonald's, that can't be used for anything else anymore, but maybe biofuels, that type of thing. But we're taking that oil, we're putting it through our cracker, just like we would the pyrolysis oil from advanced recycling, and we're making monomers and then making those polymers out of it. So again, the polymer is still the same, so it can be used in medical and food contact applications. It's still the polymer. The benefit here is around the carbon footprint. So you think of the carbon footprint of a product, how many equivalent pounds of CO2 are associated with the pound of polymer you're using. With this renewable feedstock, it reduces it significantly. And one of the things we're doing, I don't know if I have a slide on this too, real quick. Okay.
So this is all, that's like a research project, or
No, we're selling this now.
is that right?
Yeah, we're sourcing the oil. So there's a company that purchases the oil from, say, McDonald's or Burger King, and they process it. They clean it up, get all the stuff out of it. Maybe do some distillation on it to get it to the right molecular weight or boiling point, and then they sell it to us.
If you're, I don't know, any of you guys doing the research on biofuels with oil or with whatever fuel. Right. Just that it's doing bio oil, fuel,
Okay,
but so it's kind of similar.
it's very similar.
So you're
Yeah.
competing with the fuel
Yeah.
guys.
Mhm.
Right?
Yep.
But I guess you're more value added in the end. It's the process of something. So second
Yeah.
type of fuel guys.
There's always
And
options,
hopefully
right?
not with the food guys, because if you're competing with the food guys for input to make. plastic,
Well, and
that's
that-
the problem, but-
Well, that's what's differential with what we're doing versus some of our competitors.
Yeah.
We're taking second generation products. So there's some companies that go out and they'll take sugar cane and break it down and turn it into polymers. That competes with a food source.
Or soybeans.
Or soybeans or-
You want to make PhD with soybeans.
So,
It's like that's directly taking food out of babies' mouths.
yeah, so that's,
Plastic.
that's one of the fundamental things about our Renew product line is we're not competing with a food source. We're sourcing these second generation
Yeah.
products.
But I wondered how much of that material there actually is, you know, like.
It's our, out of these three products, it's our largest seller right now.
Yeah, but
Yep, we got a lot of activity in this area right now. And actually, I'll just jump right ahead to the last slide. These are things that you'll see out in the open market. So our Renew, these bio-based products. There's some announcements on work we're doing with McDonald's and Wendy's around using these products in their cups. So their cold drink cups use our product right now. We did some work with Nook on the sippy cup. So that bottle body part is our Renew polypropylene grades. So they're out there on the store shelves right now. I jumped around a little bit on it. This is our plant in California. Just a picture of it. That's our mechanical recycling plant.
probably all on fire right now, those hills, you know. I saw a picture of them.
I don't want to hear that. Wow. So I jumped around a little bit on the presentation. I guess we got a few minutes left. And any questions? Yeah, Mike.
So I mean, you know, you mentioned oils, I know, I think it's palm oil, but there's a whole bunch of stuff going down with that. I know P&G was trying to get away from them and all that. I mean, you guys, is that becoming an issue at all, or do you handle those at all?
Already addressed it. We were using some, we never use palm oil. There's a byproduct from the palm oil process. It's called PFAD, palm fatty acid distillates. So it's not the palm oil. We never use the palm oil. But these distillates we were starting to use, and then because of the brand owners commenting, because it's even a byproduct of that process, we stopped using that as well. So we don't have this.
Yeah, I'm just curious, how much of like your guys' like annual like revenue comes from like your recycled products or your like your traditional from like natural gas?
That's a great question, and I don't have specific numbers, but I can say our circular products relative to the virgin is still pretty. We produce a lot of virgin products. We started this journey probably around 2020, so we're still, 4 years, we're still getting into it. We have commercialized the Renew and the Revive and Recover grades now, so those are available on the marketplace in some areas, so they're growing. What we expect to see though is this hockey stick growth to the point where when 2025, 2030 even comes around, these brand owners have these goals that they need to set. We're seeing legislation kick in. New Jersey has a requirement on recycled content now. California, Oregon, Washington are along those lines too. So we're ramping up to get to those levels to point where we can sell those markets.
And so when you said you started in 2020, did you guys like start developing these like processes, or did you like put them on the market in 2020?
2020 is when we really do, it's at least on the mechanical side, that's the area I work primarily in. That's when we really started engaging the marketing and developing specific products for specific applications. So we have grades going with blow molded bottles, going to caps and tubs into films, and we were driving to get those commercialized. So it was a learning process, right? We had to work with our suppliers, understand what they have. We had to learn about legislation, we had to learn about regulatory requirements, which have changed drastically, and they continue to change. So we kind of have a joke, it's a little bit like the Wild West sometimes, because whatever it is right now, odds are 6 months from now, there's going to be something that's a little different that we need to react to. So we got to be pretty nimble and flexible.
A lot of the times, like when consumers are shopping, like they'll see like this bottle is recyclable or making like recycled material, and they'll buy it, but then when they get home and it's time to like get rid of it, they don't actually go through the steps to like properly recycle or like put whatever into, so that it can go back into the circular economy. Do you guys have any plans or working with your collaborators to like educate consumers like on this? Or if like a consumer continues to throw things away, like what are those educations?
Yeah, oh, a great question. Education's one of the biggest things that our whole industry is working on right now. You have American Chemical Society has a lot of activity that we're part of to help educate consumers and people on what they can recycle. You see a lot of even more, I guess, specific associations like there's a cardboard container association that's trying to teach people that we can throw our orange juice boxes in the recycle bin now. You see a lot even with little ones, right, in schools and education programs around trying to teach them. I'm sure when Rumpke's in here, that's one thing they tout. If you've been to their MRF and saw the facility, they have a beautiful conference room where they bring everybody in, they teach everybody about how to recycle, they take you on before it's set up to really educate the community. So that's one of the things you as consumers can do is educate yourselves, so you know what you can put in that bin, and then make sure you put it in the bin, that's the thing. Once it's in the garbage cans that are recycled, then there's not a lot we can do at that point. So that's why the consumers, y'all are the first line to really helping everybody make sure that we're doing the right thing for recycling.
Is this like a money making place that they should be looking at, like for enterprise, like private use?
Well, I can tell you, Lyondell LaSalle, right, in 2020, there was, I don't know, in the US, at least, Europe's further ahead of us, right? So if you're really interested in this, there's a lot going on in Europe for sure, and a lot more history there, but in the US, we had a handful of people working there. In the last 3 years, we've created a separate business unit that focuses exclusively on that. That's what I'm not part of. We have probably close to 150 employees if this isn't all of it. So career wise.
What a company like in the US or?
That's global, but
global, right.
yeah. But we're growing like crazy. And if you go to anybody in the one thing that might be interesting too is
We could startup companies like maybe some component of the system, right? There's like multiple. Yeah.
there's a lot of innovation going on in this area, and it's because we need it, right? You can imagine, you see the feedstock that's coming in, and we need to be able to sort it better, we need to clean it better, we need to handle it to the point where we can make a good product for y'all to use as consumers. Yeah, there's a lot of activity going on.
Any other options? So thanks for sticking around.
Thank you all.
Yeah, anything to come up.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just
Nice to meet you finally. I snuck in and sat in the back, but yeah. So, finally meet you. Yeah.
And hopefully,
Yeah, I mean, I've been pitching ideas for grants and stuff like that in this space. So I do like just hard calls. I have a question for you on information about that tour. I know I need